Ooh, shit, I don't know. What am I allowed to say? Is this spoiler or not?
Why not?
Just stop talking.
And he was like, I'm being deadly serious. And I was like, oh my God.
More serious.
So,
Well, I'm glad you got briefed. I didn't know what was happening.
Everything. Can you ask me the question once more?
Now is the time for sacrifice!
We're gonna do this thing.
What would you say about the scale of this series? Like, it's got to go out with a bang, right?
yeah, nice little smack of the tush.
Yeah, I think it's bigger than previous seasons. A lot of fight sequences. He has an amazing fight sequence there.
He has an amazing sex scene.
It's some of my best work.
Some of his best work. I was very jealous of Jennifer. I was like, dude.
Okay, you don't have to say that.
Why not?
Just stop talking.
Yes, we went very big this season, and I think the finale itself is our most expensive episode we ever did. So it's a very, very big ending. I think the fans will have thoughts on it. I think some will love, some will be maybe hate, and some will have opinions. But I want to hear their opinions. But I'm really proud of the ending. I think it's the right ending. But what I've left it is it's subjective. Everyone can choose on their own to decide is that the right ending for this family.
Aidan, I mean, both of you gone such an amazing journey this season. Aidan, if I could start with you. What were your early conversations with Steve like about how we see 5 out of the Umbrella Academy and how his journey kind of wraps up?
Every time we shoot a season, there's a bit of like a preamble. We figure out where the season's going a little bit before we start off. So it was like it always is. There's a lot more details that you have to contend with and figure out how you're going to approach that in a human way.
And what about you, Ritu? What can you tell us about where Lila's headed?
This season, it's quite, there's a lot more depth with Lila now. You know, it's sort of 6 years after we've seen them in the last season. So she's a mum, she's in a marriage. She's really sort of put through the ringer. And it's kind of crazy. When we were filming, we filmed some of our last scenes as our first stuff.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and so that was wild because we didn't even know what happened in the season yet. So we were given the sides of the last episode.
I knew at least. I was briefed on like.
Well, I'm glad you got briefed. I didn't know what was happening.
Everything,
okay,
but I had like a little.
I was like, I have questions, Steve, and so yeah, he talked us through, but I didn't know why Lila was doing this, and then it made sense, and yeah, it's been incredible. Her journey's pretty epic this time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing he said to me was, do you want to know what Luther is when we find him? And I said, yeah. And he said, he's a male stripper. And I thought he was joking. I was genuine, like, he's having me on. And he was like, I'm being deadly serious. And I was like, oh my God.
More serious than all
So yeah, that was a very Umbrella Academy start to the season for me, because I've said this before, but I always, when I signed on to this show, every season I have a moment where I was like, when I signed on to this show, I never would have thought I'd be doing that thing. And that was the example of that this season. So that was, being in a G-string was quite...
Did you do any strip classes, or did you to improvise it?
With my wife, Laura. She
nice one.
very much choreographed that bit of dancing that I did in the show. I mean, it was more fluid when we actually shot it. It's much more kind of put into pieces. But yeah, she put together that whole kind of dance for me. And I was like, why are you so good at this?
You've been moonlighting.
Yeah.
This season, there was a big surprise for you two in the form of a romantic relationship building. What was that like? What was your first reaction to that like? And how did you guys approach that in terms of, quite quickly building that chemistry?
I'm not sure if I should really say this, but one of the writers kind of accidentally told me that was going to happen. like at the premiere last season's premiere. Wow. And I thought that they were joking because I was like, I literally laughed and I was like, haha. And then when I read the script, I was like, oh, they weren't joking. So yeah, it was funny.
I had a similar reaction.
Oh, really?
Well, at first it's like just fully unexpected because the characters always seem at odds with each other, but it sort of flipped like a magnet at a certain point. It was like, oh, that actually makes a lot of sense personality.
Yeah, I felt like then I started thinking about the seasons before and it was like, they always knew this was going to happen, but I didn't see it.
Do you think they actually knew like that many seasons
I
before?
think so. They know what they're doing.
Okay. Well, I don't know what your
so.
conversation with this writer was.
No, it was
I didn't
literally
know.
just like, what happened?
My goodness.
Yeah.
Well, I sat with the writers and we said, what would happen if you spent 7 years with someone and were starting to give up ever coming home? I mean, some of it speaks to the domestic problems between Lila and Diego. And part of it has to do is that as much as Five and Lila would hate to say it, they're very similar. They've been fighting so hard all these seasons, but alone they realize they have a lot in common. They're very similar people. So, I wonder what the fans will take of that moment, but I think it's an earned moment. Because remember, it's not a few days. They've been together now trying to stay alive for 7 years. And I thought it was a great moment.
What was behind the decision to end where we did? The Umbrella Academy saved the world, but they ceased to exist, which is heartbreaking.
Yes. I had always wanted to ask this question early on is, can you be a superhero if no one ever knew you existed? Like, is a superhero someone who, because everyone knows who they are, it's because they know who they are? How does that work? So I thought, what happens when they're gone and no one ever knew they existed? Who were they really? And do we still love them as much as we do? So that's just sort of a philosophical question: is how would they feel if no one knew what they did? And I think that's a great way to end it, to say, what was this family and did they matter? And I think they did matter.
And we're left watching past the credits with a little sort of spring of hope, a little ray of something there.
A little something, yeah. For the fans to decide what that means.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give my interpretation, but everyone can have their own interpretation of what that means.
What was it like to, respectively, obviously you had different endings, but what was it like to perform those final scenes?
I was in a CGI suit for the last couple of episodes. Which was a lot. Why are you?
He was like a 6 foot pogo walking around.
I was in this incredible gray jumpsuit, but it was a lot of fun. I mean, I've never done that before, so it was my first time sort of dipping my toes into that, and who doesn't want to play a monster? It was a lot of fun.
It's like, actually, for me it was great. It was really funny because you're sort of holding hands and you're like saying these things, and then eventually you start just ad-libbing stuff, because everyone's sort of trying to say the most emotional thing in that moment, like, legs and eggs, baby,
Wait, that was in there, right?
No,
wait, you said something though funny.
Said something, I don't remember. I remember I said something like, "You'll always be a leader to me, Luther," or something like that. But it didn't make the thing. But yeah, it was quite.
That was the last day.
That was the last day.
Day.
We're holding hands and crying, and yeah, it was great.
I was not part of the end.
Oh yeah.
So to read it was incredibly heartbreaking, and then I guess this will be the spoilers. So I got to watch it obviously a little while ago, and it was just incredibly heartbreaking. And the work that you guys did in those final few scenes was like so heart-wrenching and just exciting to watch as a viewer. And I think Steve did an incredible job of wrapping it up. I mean, it's so hard to end a show like this, and I think obviously people are going to be sad regardless of how it ended, but I thought he did a good job.
Yeah, I think he did a good job too. I thought he did
when I turned into the
the little thing, you're like,
okay.
Yeah, no, I thought it was, I hate when shows give you like a little bit of hope, being like, maybe we come back for another. And I like Walter White in Breaking Bad was like one of the best, I think, finales, because he died, and you're just like, oh, this is it, like it's over. And I think it's good for fans to get that sort of resolution, whether it pisses them off. You know, I don't think a lot of people are going to be very happy. I wasn't.
I was an emotional wreck. I was like, yeah, that was very hard for me. I love this cast and I love this show. So I guess easy in terms of bringing emotion. It was just real. But yeah, I was quite a mess.
I was a mess much later.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
you were
really.
quite stoic on the day.
I don't react to things in the moment. I process it later. I don't know
How
why.
many days later
I don't know what
or months?
what a psychologist would say about this, but I think by the time I got to the trailer,
Oh, that same day.
yeah.
Oh.
But when I was in the trailer that same day, it was very strange. Maybe not. Well, I did certain things. I think on the very last day was a second version of that. When we all, the very last scene, that was one version of that day. And then the very last thing I shot was another version of that. But by the time you get in the car, you're sort of in like a euphoric acceptance of it all. So I think that was good. That's the feeling I was left with when I saw the last episode.
It's so sad. It's really sad. I had such a great time with these actors and the crew and the writers. So I knew it would come to an end, but I didn't think I'd be as emotional. I remember writing the last scene of the last script, the finale, and thinking, oh, I'm never going to write these characters again. I was very, I had some tears in my eyes. Well, we were together, and it was almost the last day of shooting. It was the last time they'd all be together. So as we started, I reminded them, I said, guys, this is the last time you're ever going to be together as actors in this family. And it sort of all hit them. You could see just a moment of like, oh, this is going to end. And it really helped play in the scene, but everyone was really sad. They were all tired. It was a long shoot, but there was a moment of realization like, oh, this is it. This is really the end. So it was a very moving moment for everybody.
Of course, it's the final season, but who knows when the door is ever fully shut. Is there any potential, do you think, for a return in some way for these characters for the show? Would you like to see it or be involved if that would happen?
Yes, I would. I would totally be involved.
Yeah, I think in 10 years, if we do a reboot, that would be nice.
Yeah, we'll pay the fathers and the grandfathers
exactly.
We'll
be in senior citizen homes.
Yeah. Diego will be a dog,
What?
A talking dog. It'll be an animated show. Ben will just be, I don't know.
A squid?
A squid.
Yeah.
Working at a Sugarfish or something.
My life as a sushi chef. Perfect.
Yeah. Actually, the squid in the tank.
Yeah, just...
Sorry.
Never say never.
Never say never. Yeah.
Who knows?
I think if Steve one day, and it would have to be Steve, I think, who was doing it. Yeah, you never say never with getting the band back together on something like this. That was such a great experience,
I'm never done playing Lila. I love her. So
I agree. There's a lot of places the characters can go.
But I don't know. I have no idea. I think I came in season 2, so I'm like, maybe more than anyone, like, Lila, no, don't leave. But yeah, we'll see. She'll always live on in my heart.
Absolutely. Like, it's at the end of the day, it's up to Netflix. But yeah, I mean, I have a number of different spin-offs I would do. And I really hope it's not the end of the Umbrella Academy or the universe too of the Umbrella Academy. I think there's a lot more story to be told with other characters as well, not just this family. I think Gerard Way and Gabriel Ba, who created it, have a lot of thoughts as well. So I hope it isn't the end, but we'll see.
What's your favourite idea for a spin-off?
I don't want to tell you, but I mean, I can definitely say there's stories at the commission. There's some Hazel and Cha-Cha stuff that's unresolved that I'd love to talk about. There's a lot. I have quite a few ideas, actually.
And is there any final message to the fans from you both after this final season?
Yeah.
I would say, firstly, I would want to thank them for they're such incredibly supportive fans of this show. You see on Instagram stuff, people talk about, you get a lot of negativity about things and people are like haters. Our fans are not that at all. They're super positive and so supportive of us, and they have been since day one.
It's true.
Yeah, just for being so loyal to us, I think, and keeping us doing what we're doing.
And also more tattoos. I highly encourage.
Oh my god, the tattoos.
The more umbrella tattoos, the merrier. If you're teetering on the edge, right?
Go
you
for
love
it.
the show. Just do it.
Jump in.
Just get an umbrella tattoo, a permanent.
I say this with no tattoos. I'd be like, yeah,
Me
get
neither,
one.
yeah. Get a huge one on your chest. I know, don't get a huge one on your chest. Get a small one on your wrist.
Pinky. Just that.
Yeah.